Time now is 12:20. Here to give us some perspective on Pope Benedict's decision to retire is Father William Pomerleau, who is the pastor of Our Lady of the Sacred Heart Church in Springfield. Father Pomerleau joins us live from our newsroom this afternoon. Father, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
Hey, it seemed shocking to many of us this morning, the decision by Pope Benedict XVI to step down. What is your reaction? Is it as shocking as it seemed to so many?
Well, obviously, I hadn't planned to start my day hearing this news, but on reflection, maybe it's not as shocking as we think, because this Holy Father has shown that he's a great student of history. He understands when things are changing in the world, and he's made a decision that is going to really help the Church as it goes forward in its ministry. So, on reflection, maybe it's not as shocking as we thought.
When he was elected Pope in 2005, he was already 78 years old, and said even then that he felt that if he couldn't fulfill his duties, that he would step down. We don't think about that, though. We think most of the time as popes, being the Pope until they can not make it any longer. So it is a shocking. It's the first time since 1415, I think it is.
Yes.
Pope Gregory XII was the last pope to resign. So obviously it's something none of us have ever seen before.
To do what you can to foster healing and reconciliation, and to assist those who have been hurt.
Father, your reaction?
Well, in some ways the Pope is a conservative man theologically and the way he likes to govern the Church, but I think on this point we could say he's progressive. There are some traditional arguments that there is value in suffering, and the way Pope John Paul II endured his final months and years was inspiring to people, showed the worth of people who may be ill. But on the other hand, we have to be practical. We have to have a man who's fully in control of his faculties mentally and also physically, just the rigors of everything we do. And I think the Pope was kind of on the progressive side in this decision. And he said since the beginning of his papacy, I'm a weak man. And I think people took that in a purely spiritual sense, but I think he was also saying physically, I'm 78 years old, you can't expect me to do this job forever, and if need be, we'll consider resignation. He said that in an interview very clearly last year, and has hinted at it several times.
Those health concerns aside, what will this Pope's legacy be?
I think the legacy, oddly enough, will be modernizing some things. I think the most important thing he's done in recent years is really getting a good grasp on the sexual abuse, clergy abuse scandal. As you know, it was a major affair here in the United States. It's still not ended, of course. But he really, even before he was Pope, took all these cases under his wings as he was for the Sacred Congregation of Doctrine of the Faith, and has really made it very clear to all the bishops all across the world that this is a major issue that needs to be dealt with, and dealt with very directly and very strongly. And I think history will judge that he was very decisive on that front. He also helped with the continuing internationalization of the Curia, of the Church. The Church is growing in Africa, parts of Central America and South America, and he's given much more attention, as his predecessors did, to the emerging parts of the Church. Sometimes here in the United States we don't always appreciate that enough.
And back in 2005, he was almost a favorite to replace John Paul II. Now it seems like that might be wide open. The conclave of cardinals will only meet after February 28th, right? So that's when the conclave actually begins.
Yeah, they don't have an exact date yet, but the Vatican Press Secretary was hinting this morning that it'll happen before Easter, so it may be mid to late March at the latest. So this may be over relatively quickly. You're right that there's no clear favorite this time. As Cardinal Ratzinger, the current Pope, had worked for the better part of 30 years with his predecessor in Rome, and he knew everybody, and he was widely respected as a capable administrator. And so he became kind of a natural choice. This time around, I don't think there are that many people who've been there that long, or the ones who've been there that long are themselves quite up there in years now. So I think it's really going to be a much more wide open conclave this time around.
Okay, Father William Pomerleau, who is the pastor of Our Lady of the Sacred Heart Church in Springfield, Thanks very much for your insight this morning, and we appreciate it. I'm sure we'll be talking to in the weeks to come. Thanks very much for joining us today.
My pleasure.